Obviously, some of you, because I've heard from you via text and emails and all the various ways, paid attention that Donald Trump seemed to thinks he liked something I said. There was a headline. I did a interview with a gentleman by the name of David Brody, who was doing a larger story, sort of on the, where is the Democratic Party headed in the next 4 years? Where's the Republican Party headed in the next 4 years? And the role of Trump. And one of the things I've said, which you guys have heard here in about 6 weeks ago, and it was a Substack column I wrote, which is that, look, no matter how you view Donald Trump, I don't think he's had a bigger, I don't think a president has had this much impact on American society since FDR.
As it relates to Trump, how do you see him specifically as it relates to how impactful he has been historically?
Oh, I put him, look, I don't think we've had anybody have this much impact on the country since FDR. So I think when you look at it, and that's what for culturally in particular, certainly in how even our politics is conducted in that sense. I think the question is, does he have impact on policy for decades to come? But I think culturally in particular, and certainly on our political identity, I think he's had, not since FDR, we had this kind of a president with, look, he wants to involve himself in everything. FDR involved himself in almost everything.
Including the commander's name.
Including who the CEO of Intel should be. I mean, these are things that you and I know the previous Republican Party would have how dare government tell business what to do?
Yeah.
And yet there's almost an acceptance. There's no outcry.
Yeah.
Right? So that's real change. And Donald Trump saw the headline, and he used it to thank me, which is why it was one of those things, right? And it's a reminder, he didn't actually listen to the interview, because the interview was not necessarily a compliment. It was just in this case, a neutral observation. Obviously, I'm not convinced that this is going to be a good outcome in the long term of where we are right now, but there is no doubt, and there's no mistaking. He's not an asterisk in American history, right? He is leaving his imprint, will leave his imprint, and it's gonna be a generational impact, at least on the Republican Party and perhaps on the nation. But I think it sort of tells you a couple of things. I took a couple of lessons away. First of all, I'd said this FDR comparison 6 weeks ago, but apparently right-wing media didn't notice it, right? It didn't get into front of Donald Trump's face until he saw something in the Christian Broadcasting Network noting this. So I think one is it really does show you how fragmented we are. And trust me, it's a lesson for myself. You think you're talking to, I really want to talk to as wide of an audience as I can. I'm on, some of you know this, if you follow me on all these different socials, we put our content up everywhere, right? There's a ToddCast TikTok feed, there's a YouTube channel, there's Instagram, there's Facebook, there's X, and of course there's the audios on Spotify and Apple and everywhere else that you get it. And yet this never seemed to get into his orbit. And I think it is a reminder, there is this, we know we're fragmented, but the question is, how thick are those bubbles, right? What aren't we seeing? I'm constantly worried that I don't see everything of the debate inside of what's happening in MAGA world, what's happening in that specific space. I'm always concerned about, what do I know about the Democratic Socialists, what's in that space. And so, I make intentional attempts to find out, but this was something I took away, should our content be on Truth Social, type of mindset. So that's one. The second is that I think what you realize with Trump just wants to be historic. Trump doesn't care if you criticize him or you praise him as long as you mention his name. And he's also quite needy, right? It is really, this constant need for this Nobel Peace Prize. Like, he's always looking for affirmation, right? And I was sort of an early person he dealt with in this sort of launch of his modern political campaign. I was one of the first people. He and I got into it in 2011 when I was talking about how his endorsement was actually a net negative for Mitt Romney. He didn't like that. I'll never forget. I was doing this report on the Today Show about polling we saw and said, hey, well, actually the Trump endorsement's a net negative for Mitt Romney, not a positive. And boy, and of course he was the next guest doing a phoner, I believe, with the Today Show at the time. This is, I want to say, 2011, maybe early 2012. Trying to remember when he actually finally endorsed Romney. It may have been actually in 2012, and it just he just got cranky about it, and it started our telephone relationship. I will confess that front. So look, we've been through it in various ways, and affirmation is something he wants. It doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. The acknowledgement that he matters. And I think it's to me, it's sort of I do believe I understand how he ticks and his reaction to what he believes I said and what he believes I meant, I think tells you a lot there.